Well, hi everybody. This is a friend of mine, Kelly, and Kelly's the sister of the two brothers that I've already interviewed for this podcast. They're very close family with me. I'm very close to them, and I really feel grateful to know them all. I don't know Kelly as well as I know Mark and Brian, because Kelly had been gone from Rockland by the time I got there. So this is kind of an introduction for me and for you. We've spent a lot of time talking to each other on the phone. We've never really done a lot of in-person soul searching, in-depth interviews kind of stuff. So it'll be fun. We're going to get to know each other a little better probably than we have. Hopefully better than we want, not better than we wanted to, but better than we have. So Kelly texted me right after she saw Mark's podcast and said, I like the two podcasts, and if you want to do the trifecta, it's my turn now. So let me know when. So here we are with Kelly. How are you?
Good, good. I'm a little bit sore. I ran the Marine Corps Marathon yesterday in DC.
Oh my gosh, I would be very sore. Is it the whole 26 miles?
26 miles.
Oh my goodness, you are still in incredible shape. That blows me away. I mean, well, I've got one leg, but that's not gonna be the comparison I'm using. I couldn't imagine running 10 miles, 5 miles, or a mile at this point in my life. So you're doing well. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks. It was the
How many
50th year of the Marine Corps Marathon, so it was extra special.
55th year?
The 50th.
50th year. Oh, special 50th. Oh, cool.
Yes. Yeah.
How many participants were there?
40,000, more than Boston.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. How'd you finish?
Slower than I expected to, but my goal was to finish without walking, and I managed to finish without walking. So I was happy about that.
That's fantastic. I cannot imagine 40,000 people running the Marine Corps Marathon.
Yeah.
Thank God. That's a wonderful thing. And were they all Marines? Were they families of Marines or just people?
Oh, no, anybody. It's called the People's Marathon because anybody can run it. Unlike Boston, where in order to run Boston, you have to have a qualifying time in another marathon or run for charity. Anybody can sign up to run the Marine Corps Marathon. So it's called the People's Marathon.
That's fantastic. I'm so happy to hear that. Well, did either Brian or Mark run it?
Not this year. Mark has run it previously. And Mark called me yesterday after the run. And we're hoping that Mark and I can run a marathon together at some point.
That would be a lot of fun. Does Brian ever run a marathon?
I don't think he's ever done a full marathon.
Well, now I've got something to get on him about when he calls me tomorrow. He calls me every Tuesday morning on his way to work. So I'll harp on him about that, see what he can do next year.
Oh, yeah.
When he's retired.
Yeah.
So you talking about critical of yourself, you're that was pretty much your focus. You were very, very disciplined and, from what I understand, a very focused student all the way up through the Annapolis Naval Academy.
Yeah.
That was your way of living. You were very focused on your goals.
Yes. Yes.
Did you know you were going to be in the Marine Corps even when you were in high school?
When I decided to go to the Naval Academy, I was pretty sure that I was going to go Marine Corps when I graduated.
And why was that? Tell me.
A few reasons. My dad was a Marine, and when I applied to the Naval Academy, I received my acceptance letter in the mail on November 10th, the Marine Corps birthday. So I kind of thought that was a sign that I was supposed to go Marine Corps, and I did.
That's good for you. And when you retired at what age?
Oh, I did 5 years on active duty, and then I stayed in the reserves for 6 years when we started our family. So I did 5 years active and 6 years in the reserves.
And you married a Marine?
Yes.
Is he still in, or is he retired?
He did 23 years on active duty, and now he's a government employee.
Wow. So you've got quite a Marine Corps family. How many children are there in the family?
We have 4 children, 1 girl and 3 boys, and our daughter is currently at the Naval Academy.
She's not going to be a Marine, though.
Probably not, but that's okay.
Well, I've heard about her story of change a little bit, so that's kind of cool. And what was the moment in your life that you changed from being the driven Marine Corps, rah, 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 let's go get them kind of person to the whole person you are and who are you now as opposed to that? And what was the change all about?
Yeah, I have a definite memory of when my faith went from being, oh, this is what my parents believe, so I guess this is what I should believe, to making it a personal faith. And I have a very clear memory of that. So I was raised in a Christian home. Both of my parents were godly people. And as a young child, I remember giving my life to Jesus as a young child. But at the time, I don't really know how much I understood about what that decision meant. You know, as a 4-year-old, did I really understand that I was a sinner who needed Jesus's forgiveness, you know, for my sins? And, you know, as I got older, I had a better understanding of that. But I have a clear memory of when I was at the Naval Academy, I got very involved with Officer Christian Fellowship. So I went to their meetings. They had weekly Bible study meetings, and I was very involved in that. And one year, I think it was during my junior year, a group of us went to a missions conference out in Illinois over Christmas break. And we heard some speakers just talking about missions. And I distinctly remember having two conflicting thoughts during that conference. And on the one hand, I thought, oh, you know, this is awesome. I want to go tell the whole world about Jesus because, you know, that's what we're called to do. But on the other hand, I remember thinking, what if this isn't true? Like, how do I know that this is actually true? And I came to a realization that I had been a Christian because that's how I was raised. You know, my parents were Christians and they took me to church, and I grew up hearing about Jesus, and I just naturally thought, okay, I guess that's what I believe because that's what my parents tell me to believe. And I remember at this missions conference, I remember questioning, is this really true? And, you know, and if it is true, then sharing that message with others is the most important thing that I can do. But if it's not true, then it's worthless. And so I really, that is really when I really looked into, I need to find out if this is actually true and why do I believe this? And that's when I really just started studying the Bible seriously. And the more I've studied the Bible, the more I've realized it's absolutely true. And if it is true, which of course, now that I believe that it is, then my whole life has to revolve around that.
It's interesting you talk about that incorporation of the faith that you'd always had into your whole system of life. There's that moment there where what does Paul say about faith is a conviction of things unseen? What's that phrase? You should know that.
I'm pretty sure it's in Hebrews 11.
Okay. And what does he say?
I can look it up.
I was counting on you because I don't have my Bible in front of me.
Yeah, well, I got it right here. I could get close to it, but I don't want to misquote it. So Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen.
Yeah, that's the point where we have to make a decision in our lives, isn't it? That everybody has to make that decision at one point or another, or you just float. You know, there are a lot of people that we know, well, both of us know, who have been brought up Christian and don't really practice their faith because they don't really have that. They've never questioned that. They never made that decision. Making that decision really is a hinge moment. It really turns your life in one direction or another. And it sounds like you really made that, and you were only about what, 21, 22 at that time?
Yeah, probably about 20.
Okay, so that's a pretty powerful decision to make. And how did it influence your life, like going from when you made that decision? You said, "This is true. This is the most important thing in my life. This is what I have to do." how did it direct your life? How did it turn into action?
I guess from that point on, I've tried to make decisions based on that truth. What does what God want me to do in, not just the big things, but the small things. I mean, yes, the big things that, who do I marry? And, do we have kids and how do we raise our kids? And, those big decisions, but also the small decisions, or, how do I interact with my neighbor on a day-to-day basis? How do I spend my time?
Right.
How do I spend my money? I mean,
Yeah.
every decision I try to make through that lens of the Bible is absolutely true, and that influences everything that I do.
For some of us, myself included, that I found that the thing that had kept me from really following the Lord was selfishness, self-centeredness, and self-interest. And every day now, and I'm not trying to bring any other program into this, but the program to which I belong suggests strongly that every day I get up and I ask God to free me from the bondage of self so that I may better do his will. So that everything that is presented to me that day, I'm doing exactly through the lens of, I believe this is what I'm supposed to do to pass on what I was given, which is salvation. And writ small, it's in every little decision that I make. I think that's a really important qualification for all of us. But so many people, what is it about? Why are so many people just able to float through life without even attaching to this? Why do you think that is?
I mean, our human nature is selfish and sinful, and it's a daily battle to live by the spirit rather than the flesh. I mean, naturally, we want to satisfy the desires of the flesh, and it's a decision to walk by the spirit and not by the flesh. So if you're not walking by the spirit, then the default is to walk by the flesh. So it has to be a very intentional, day by day, minute by minute decision to walk by the spirit, because if you're not doing that, you're going to default to just do whatever your flesh wants to do.
Absolutely. No, it's this podcast is called the Dismas Diaries, and it's for a reason. It's because on the cross, the good thief, or so-called good thief, he wasn't a thief. He was probably much worse than a thief because he was crucified. He had that moment of clarity, that moment where he accepted the call to convert, to be a follower of his creator, and to want to be with him forever. And that moment of clarity is something that I think that all of us need. Sometimes it really gets expressed in a real big way. Oh, I'm struck dumb. Of course I'm doing it wrong. I need to follow Christ. Or sometimes it's kind of a subtle, just change of things in life, and suddenly it kind of faces you, and you say, "Well, I'm doing this." It sounds like to me that moment was a real clarity moment. It was like a bing bang kind of a big deal. I think my personal thought is that moment of grace is offered to so many people, and so many people don't accept it because they're just not looking for it. They're not listening. I think of Elijah trying to find God and finding him at the mouth of the cave in that still small voice. And I think, God is talking to us all the time, calling us to his side, and we're just not listening. We're too bound up with the things of this world to not. But some of us have that moment where we listen. And I think it's a wonderful thing to look back and see where was my mind at? What made me ready to listen that day as opposed to the day before or 2 days afterwards? Why is that? Why was that day special? What was the conference you were at in Illinois? What was special about that gave you that moment of clarity?
I think it's God's timing. I mean, I think the Holy Spirit, for reasons that we don't really understand, the Holy Spirit calls us at a certain moment in time, and I can't explain it other than that. God has his reasons for his timing.
Yeah, but it's his operation in your life has certainly been blessing after blessing. It's not like you haven't had problems, difficulties, and issues like everybody else, but you've always been able to get through it because you know that God is on your side. Can you talk a little bit about one of the major issues in your life that you were able to get through with God's help?
I'll talk about Matthew having his heart transplant.
I think that's a pretty big issue. That's a huge one.
So our youngest son, Matthew, he's now 16. He was born with a serious heart defect. He had multiple heart surgeries in the first few years of his life. And when he was 4 years old, he needed a heart transplant. And I knew that God would be with me no matter what happened. I mean, I never heard God telling me that he was going to live. Sometimes people say, oh, God told me that this is going to be the outcome or whatever. I never felt like God told me, Matthew's going to live through this. But I knew that he would be with me no matter what happened. So I just had that peace that passes understanding, like Paul talks about in Philippians, that I knew no matter what the outcome, God would get me through it.
That peace that surpasses all understanding is a wonderful phrase from Philippians. And it is something that I feel in my life today. There's been a long periods of time where that was not present, but it's been present with me for a long time. And I've been able to get through some major crises in my life and not ever doubt. That doubt that we had at that moment that you were describing it, like, I'm not sure, is this true or is this not true? Let's never come back. As I've described it to other people, it's like once you've seen over the horizon, you can't believe the earth is flat again.
Yeah.
once you've experienced the joy of God's presence in your life, you can't ever doubt that he's going to be with you for all time, that he loves you. That's a beautiful thing. I mean, I can't imagine. I imagine the stress that must have been present in your family's life, in your life, when your youngest child needed a heart transplant and you were left hoping for a heart, but sort of dreading that it was going to be at the death of somebody else. Can you talk a little bit about the relationship that you guys have experienced with the donor of the heart and the family of the donor, and how that's affected your lives since then?
Sure. So yeah, when the doctors first decided that Matthew needed a transplant, well, before that, I mean, I was praying that God would heal him without needing a transplant. And I believe that God could have done that. And for whatever reason, God chose not to heal him. And so he did need a transplant. And it was so hard to pray for that. I mean, it's not like another surgery where you just pray that he survives the surgery and then, it's fine. But praying for him to have a transplant, the only way for him to have a transplant was for another child to pass away. And he was 5, so an adult heart would have been too big to fit into his chest. So we knew that his donor would have to be a child that was close to his age. And how do you pray for another family to lose their child? I mean, you can't pray for that. So I really struggled with how do I pray about this? And I really, one reason why I really had a hard time with that was because if and when he got the transplant, I felt like living with that was going to be a burden, knowing that my son was alive because somebody else had lost their child. And I thought to live with that for the rest of my life was really going to be a burden, an emotional burden that I didn't want to live with. And he got the transplant, and we wrote letters to the donor family, and they wrote back to us, and we wanted to meet them and they wanted to meet us. And so we've met them several times, and it has not been a burden. It has not been a burden. It has been a blessing. It has, for Braden's family to be able to meet Matthew and to listen to their son's heart beating in Matthew's chest, was a blessing to them, but it's also been a blessing to us, just to be able to have that relationship with Braden's family. So what I thought, I thought God didn't know, not that I thought God didn't know what he was doing, but, God didn't answer my prayers the way that I wanted him to. But in hindsight, the relationship that we have with Braden's family is a blessing to us. And a lot of other things have come out of that I never would have foreseen. So I speak about organ donation at our local high schools. I go in as a guest speaker to the local driver ed classes, and I give a 1-hour presentation about organ donation. And I do not like to speak in public. So me speaking to hundreds or sometimes thousands of high school students every year about organ donation is out of my comfort zone. But, God put me in a unique position to do that. And I do it because it's something that I'm passionate about, and that would never be happening if Matthew hadn't had his transplant.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story. And I'm so glad you were able to tell us. My own sense that in the last, say, 15 or 20 years has been that first, God answers my prayers always, but always in a way that I don't expect. I mean, sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes the answer is I've got something better.
Mhm.
That's usually the one. And and you probably will be able to, I hope you're able to claim this as well. I'm learned to embrace even the things that I think are awful coming my way, the things that are really going to be painful, or the things that look negative. I no longer dread them. I embrace them because I figure that God has taken all the things in my past and used them for the benefit of others. Everything that's ever happened to me has been useful, either to me in hindsight in ways that, like you were saying, now I'm able to speak in front of thousands of people, or now I can do this, or or that you've been able to enable the family of Braden to hear their heart beating in Matthew's chest. Those are some things that we can quantify. But the way that I try to live my life now is look at everything as a gift that's to be used in a way that you don't know that it's going to be used. And the blessings are so huge that you can't even imagine what they're going to be. The things that we hold at arm's length turn out to be the biggest blessings at the end.
Mhm.
Now, you've done a lot of work with Children's Hospital Philadelphia as well as a result of this.
Yes, I've done some fundraising for them.
Yeah, and you really don't like to talk about yourself, do you? You're so much like your brothers, but so different in so many ways. It's kind of fun to get to know you a little bit better. You're very reticent about sharing things, and I feel like I'm probing you more than I should. I don't want to probe areas that are difficult, but your faith journey informs all of your life, not just parts of it. It's all of your life is faith based, and it's not always just going out and saying Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. It's living a life as a disciple. Well, this turned out to be quite the interview with Kelly. I really got to know her really well. There's a lot more here that we weren't able to include into this week's podcast. But some of the things that were really important were finding that I've got a call. I have something I'm supposed to do with my life. I found a purpose. It may not be that you're going to explicitly be an evangelist. You're not going to beat the drum for Jesus or anything like that. It may just simply be that you're going to live your life in a different way. You're going to live your life for other people. Where you find something that you're passionate about, that you're going to continue to do that and eliminate all the other things from your life. The pattern is always still the same. I have to first acknowledge and hear that voice and that call to do something first. Then I have to ask for forgiveness from whoever I've offended or by not following that. If that's been something I should be doing all of my life, and I haven't been doing it, I got to ask for forgiveness for the times I haven't done it, right? And then I have to set off and joyfully accept whatever I'm given to do that job. If that's my job, I'm going to do it as well as I can do it. My mom used to my mom used to say, any job worth doing is worth doing well, and she's right. But any job worth doing is also worth doing poorly. That is, as well as you can do it now. Don't hold off things I found just because I'm not perfect at it yet, because I only get perfect or virtuous in it by doing it. So I think that what Kelly was saying was that we have to immerse ourselves in the work and whatever it is we're choosing to do. If we're listening to God speak to us, we got to follow his speech and then do what he asks us to do. And it may be hard. I think of St. Andrew, the brother of St. Peter, who's often pictured as kissing the cross upon which he was going to be crucified. And it's a strange thing because you don't think of like kissing the cross. They're going to kill you on this cross and you're going to kiss it. But what he's saying is, this is the way that God is going to use me for his purposes. And I have to embrace it. The word embraces is to kiss, to make yourself joyful with it. I have to embrace the reality that I'm going to do some suffering. There are going to be some things that I'm called to do that I don't necessarily want to do, but they're for God's purpose, and I take great joy in that. I'm trying to till the soil in my soul so that when God's word comes, when he speaks to me, I'm ready to have the word planted in me to grow and produce great fruit. And I'm responsible for that. Kelly's done great things with her family and with her commitment to the Marine Corps and to the people of her area. She's talking about organ donation, which is so important to people that she doesn't feel comfortable talking to. She's picking up her cross and embracing it. At the beginning of the conversation, we talked about how she just run the Marine Corps marathon, 26 something miles with 40,000 other people on the 50th birthday of the Marine Corps. She's keeping fit and keeping in shape so she can do that and she can continue to evangelize even while she's running a marathon. So I just really got a lot out of this, and I hope I didn't talk too much. I hate when I'm talking way too much on a podcast, but I really got a ton of this. I want to thank Kelly for volunteering to come on with me and talk with me a little bit. It's had to be a little bit uncomfortable for her because, as she said, she doesn't like talking in public, but I think she did a great job. Now, if you're interested in coming on the podcast, if you'd like a story to tell, or you'd like to just chat about how God is moving you in your life, feel free to contact me. The dismissdiaries@gmail.com. Subscribe. You'll get more copies of this as they come out. Every Thursday, I try to drop one. Please let people know if you got any comments on it. Please let us know what it is, and we'd love to hear from you. So until next time, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a blessed day. Bye-bye.